Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name is Jim. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and most everywhere podcasts are found. Nice to have you here today. This is the last podcast of October 2021. Fall's in the air, leaves are changing and falling, and the air is cooler, and the mornings are colder, and the days are definitely shorter. Fall's a nice time of the year. The only downside is, maybe, it's announcing the upcoming winter. Oh well, the seasons, they go round and round. That's a fact. My wife and I just enjoyed our 44th anniversary a couple weeks ago, and that reminded me of back when I first met her. She always wanted to have a horse, and of course I didn't, because I was raised around horses and the thrill was gone for me. But so I told her I'd take her and she could ride a horse. She was real excited, and I picked her up the next morning. She came skipping out of her house wearing jeans and a snap-up shirt, and with this little cowboy hat that had a string that hung down under her chin, and excitement was in her eyes. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Let's go ride a horse." And I said, "Well, I really don't want to ride a horse, but I've got one all lined up for you." So she looked at me kind of funny and said, "Okay." Got in the pickup truck and I drove her to where the horse was. She got out, she kind of looked at it and looked at me and looked at the horse again and said, "This is your horse that you want me to ride?" I go, "Yeah, it's safe, it is. Let me help you up there." So she got on the horse. It was already all saddled up and ready to go, and said, "Hold on tight now." So the horse started to go, and it ran around and around, and every time the horse came around, Kim just looked at me with a big smile on her face, and after a while she started waving at me when the horse came around, and I don't know what happened. She wasn't really paying attention. I think she was goofing off a little, and she started to slide off the saddle, and next thing you know, her eyes got real big and her mouth flew open, and the horse wouldn't stop and kept going around and around, and she was kind of bouncing along and couldn't get off the horse altogether. She kind of stuck there, and she was crying and screaming, and I freaked out, and I didn't know what to do, so I could do the only thing that I could do to save her. I went into the Kmart and I had the manager run out and unplug that machine. When the horse came to a stop, I got her off and dusted her off, and she looked at that ride and she said, "I never want to do that again." Yay! She hates for me to tell that joke, and I love to, so I won't get in trouble till she listens to this podcast, and by that time, yeah, we've all heard it by then. Now for a little segment we call Forky and Earl. Earl had a second cousin named Bonnie that lived in the house across the street from Earl's dad's store. Well, one Halloween, Earl and Forky were invited to a Halloween party over at Bonnie's house. And so Forky said, "Earl, what are you going to wear?" And Earl said, "I'm going to wear my tennis shoes and my baseball cap and my jeans and my t-shirt and a jacket. Forky, what are you wearing?" "Well, everything except for that hat. I don't like baseball hats too much." I said, "I know, but I do." So that night, Forky and Earl walked across the street, walked down the street, came to Bonnie's house, and went in. And as they walked into a bunch of spider webs, and Forky goes, "Ah, ah, ah, ah." Earl goes, "I don't think they're real, Forky. I don't think they're real." Forky and Earl got all that stuff off of their face, and Bonnie's mom was right there, standing in the dark with a dim light at her face, and said, "Welcome, boys. I'm so very glad you've decided to join us." Forky looked at Earl, and Earl looked at Bonnie's mom, and Bonnie's mom looked at Forky and Earl, and they said, "Thank you." Well, she led him in through this dark entranceway into a dark hallway that was lit somewhere distantly with a reddish light. And they came to this room, and they could hear faint screams and weird laughter. and saw some boys and girls, and Bonnie's mom took them to a table and said, "Lay your hands over there." And they put their hands into a tub, and all they could feel was the eyeballs. And the eyeballs were everywhere. And Bonnie's mom said, "Please do not squeeze the eyeballs, for people may need their eyeballs back." And Forky goes, "Ah!" "Earl, what's going on?" And Earl said, "I don't think they're eyeballs, Forky." And there was laughter, crazy laughter. And there were other boys and girls. And there were some girls laughing and some boys looking at Forky like, "Have you lost your mind?" And Forky kind of shook himself off and said, "Only kidding, only kidding." Earl said, "He's only kidding." Bonnie's mom looked at Forky and Earl and said, "That's sweet." Well, then we felt the brains, and then there was some hair, and then someone grabbed Earl from behind, and Earl started to scream, and he remembered Forky screaming, and he just swallowed his gum. Ooh. And Forky was definitely upset, and Earl was right behind him. And Forky said, "Earl, I know that Bonnie's your second cousin, but let's get out of here." And they ran as fast as they could through the dark room and through the dark hallway and out the door and into the spider webs. And Forky was pulling the spider webs off his face, and Earl was saying, "Let's get out of here." Well, Bonnie caught Forky and Earl about halfway down the block, and she was laughing and smiling because Bonnie was really a nice girl. And she said, "Forky and Earl, please come back. We're having a party." And that's just my mom's way of setting the tone for Halloween. Those eyeballs, Forky, were really olives. And those brains was just cantaloupe. Everything's okay. And so Forky and Earl went back to the party and had a good old time. Hello, kids. Welcome to Kate's General Store. These are full-size candy bars, so you only get one. What are you? Are you a pirate? I used to be a pirate. Ho, 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 and a bottle of rum. Are you a princess? Pirates like princesses. Have a good time, kids. Gator Earl, what are you doing here? Hi, Homer. I thought that I'd come and help you hand out candy. Jerry came by the restaurant today and told me he had to stay at home and you might be lonely because Kitty and Katie went to some kind of Halloween party. Yes, sirree. They wouldn't let me because last time I went to a Halloween party, they asked me to leave. I do not know why they asked me to leave, Gator Earl. It was something about I screamed at the top of my lungs and I ran into something when that bat flew by me. You ever have a bat fly by you, Gator Earl? Like a mammal? One of those? Well, it's sure not going to be a baseball bat. That'd be dangerous. Yes, like a mammal, those flying cats, whatever they are. You know, they hang by their feet and they sleep all day like a teenager. Yeah, I know what you mean there, Homer. May I get this one? Yes, Gator Earl, you get. I'll sit here and watch Beretta. Hello, kids. We have Snickers bars and Butterfingers. You can have one or the other. I really like your costumes. They seem so original. Are you Elvis Presley? Are you the Mummy? Is that toilet paper? Yeah, that's a pretty good idea, wrapping yourself in toilet paper. Please don't throw it on our trees. I can't imagine ever being short of toilet paper. There's so much toilet paper. Have a fun time, kids. Gator Earl, how many candy bars did you give out? Just one apiece, Homer. That's good. I forgot to give you the directions. Katie told me that everybody can only have one, and that we give probably the best treat in town because some of those people give popcorn balls. You know what I mean? They're all hard, break your tooth, and if I want popcorn, I go down there to Wheatown and go to a picture show. Me too, Homer. I like buttered popcorn, but I don't like those balls either. Oh, there's another one. Let me get it this time. I'm going to scare them. Boo! I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Please don't cry, little boy. Yeah, I know I'm pretty scary, but that's just the natural me. Here, you can have 2 candy bars if you stop crying. That's it. That's better. Yep. Okay. Well, thanks for coming to Kate's General Store. Homer, I'm not sure I really like Halloween, but I did when I was a kid. I know what you mean, Gator Earl. It's kind of expensive. 10 cents a pop, every one of those candy bars. Whew. Oh well, it's better they eat them than I eat the whole thing. Hey, you want a Butterfinger? Now for the top 10 55 years ago. That's the top 10 pop songs this week in 1966. Number 10, C.C. Ryder, Eric Burdon and the Animals. Number 9, Have You Seen Your Mother, Baby, Standing in the Shadow, the Rolling Stones. Number 8, Hooray for Hazel, Tommy Rowe. Number 7, What Becomes of the Broken Hearted, Jimmy Ruffin. Number 6, Dandy, Herman's Hermits. Number 5, Walk Away Renee, The Left Bank. Number 4, Horse Out of Town, Johnny Rivers. Number 3, Reach Out, I'll Be There, The Four Tops. Number 2, Last Train to Clarksville, The Monkees. And the number 1 song this week, 55 years ago, by Question Mark and the Mysterians, 96 Tears. When I was a little kid, my mom took me trick-or-treating all around town, but basically just to people we knew and to my relatives. We go to my grandma and grandpa's house, go to my Aunt Jerry and Uncle Cliff's house. We go to my Aunt Betty and Uncle Sam's house. We go to my Aunt Donna and Uncle Jim's house. We go next door to our great neighbors there. We go down to my school teacher's house, which was always quite the experience for me, because why isn't she at school? She would take me past Wayne's house, and a lot of times Wayne was riding with me. We just went quite a few places, and Mom would take me home, let me show her all the candy and popcorn balls and stuff I got. When I was a little older, I got to walk around by myself, and it was usually always Wayne and me. But I had other friends that would walk with us, and sometimes we'd walk 4 or 5 of us. We'd walk up to a door and trick or treat. Most everyone always gave us something. Some folks were quite fun, like Bonnie's mom in the little story about Forky and Earl. They'd be dressed up in costume and play the part. Some people acted like it was a big inconvenience. Some people would want you to do a trick. Some people would ask you what you were or tell you what you were. It was really a lot of fun, and it was all part of my childhood. I never ever associated Halloween with something scary until probably that fateful night in Bonnie's house. That was a pretty cool haunted house, if I remember right, and the story probably doesn't give it justice. It was very elaborate with a lot of cool things, and Bonnie's mom worked very hard on that. It was nothing like cities have those haunted houses and whatever. I've never been to those, but I've heard stories and all that. This is just a small town where people were trying to entertain some little kids for a little while. As we would drive down Main Street with my mom, taking us around, you'd see packs of teenagers soaping the windows of the stores downtown. There's never really much vandalism or anything. It was just soap on windows. Once in a while someone set a roadblock on a back street somewhere. My Uncle Victor one time told me about one Halloween when he was a boy. They tipped over an outhouse. Now, if you don't know what an outhouse is, it's kind of like a porta potty that was made out of wood and stood in one place stationary. Well, they tipped over the outhouse and there was a man in it. It was really a pretty funny story, only the way Uncle Victor could tell it. He could make you laugh so hard you were crying. I'm sure he didn't embellish anything. So that time of Halloween is always a big farewell party to October. A beautiful, beautiful month. And the next time I'm with you, it will be November, and we're going to be gearing up for Thanksgiving. Where does the time go? Wherever it goes, I know it's going there very fast. Throughout your life, through all the ups and all the downs, through all the tears and all the smiles, keep one thing constant, and that is always be kind. You know, you cannot unthrow a rock once you let it go. I'll be back next Wednesday. Peace out.